Probably the most common thing I come across in terms of when I share my beliefs, people say, how dare you? How dare you say that your system of belief is the right one and all other beliefs are wrong? All these ancient cultures with thousands of years of developing their belief system are all wrong, and your way is the only way, it's exclusive. And so that person, my response would be that person has just communicated an exclusive belief system, which we all have. It's impossible not to have a belief system that we believe exclusively. It's impossible to believe all things simultaneously. So even if you said, look, all belief systems are the same, you're going to be disagreeing with somebody else who holds a different belief system. So if you say, I believe in all beliefs, well, that's logically impossible, because there'd be a belief system that says that you can't believe in all beliefs. So the interesting part about it is that person has positioned themselves from a morally superior vantage point, where they're saying that their system of belief, which is that you should never judge other beliefs as being inferior and that all beliefs are equal, they've actually made an exclusive belief system which they think is the right way, and they've judged that this exclusively religious person over here has done what they've done is wrong. So they've made a value judgment as well. So it's not a question of whether we believe things. It's not a question of whether we believe things exclusively, because we all do. I don't think it's possible to believe in anything that we think is not true. I don't think it's possible to believe in something that you don't deep down think is actually true. As someone said to me, oh, but what about somebody who's convinced themselves of a lie? Well, if they've convinced themselves of the lie, at some point there's been a convincing, so there's a transition from believing that it's a lie, and now they've convinced themselves that it's true, so they don't believe it's a lie, they believe it's now true because they've convinced themselves. Or they're just lying still, and deep down they're not telling you, but they actually believe it to be a lie, but they're just using it for some function. In which case, if you held a gun to their head, they'll say, oh no, I don't believe in that. Or they might just make a point. But the point is, they actually, we all have something that we believe to be the absolute truth. Otherwise, we wouldn't believe it. And if you believe that it's wrong to have a belief system that's exclusive, you yourself have just communicated a belief system that is exclusive. So yeah, often I come across like this story of people who they describe like an elephant, and there's 7 blind men touching different parts of the elephant and explaining, oh, an elephant is flat, like they touch the side of the elephant is flat like a wall and leathery. Someone else, and the other blind man is touching the tail and says, no, an elephant is like a snake. I won't continue with the whole story, but because we've all heard it. But that person telling that story has positioned themselves from the ultimate vantage point, by which they've got the view from the balcony, and they can look down on the 7 blind men stumbling around, and then their way of seeing is actually is all knowing. So unfortunately, that backfires, that story, which is designed, I think, to humble us all to the same level, is actually elevated the storyteller to the absolute moral superiority, because they are able to look down and see everyone else stumbling in the dark. So it's not a question as if whether or not you believe in a god or gods, or whether you believe the whole conversation is boring and you're not interested. We all have a way of living which is internally coherent to what we believe is to be, what we believe is absolutely true. Otherwise, we wouldn't believe it. If someone said, I think it's you should brush your teeth so you keep your teeth clean, they believe that is absolutely true, that you should keep your teeth clean. Otherwise, they wouldn't clean their teeth. Or they might believe that it's the right thing to do to clean their teeth, they just don't happen to do it. In which case, they do actually have a belief system They just don't happen to follow it, but they still actually believe something. They say, I don't brush my teeth, but I should. But it's actually the right thing to do is to brush your teeth. So the interesting thing is that it's not a matter of arrogance to hold to something that you believe to be absolutely true. It's just a question of whether or not you own it and whether or not you're okay with disagreeing with others. So I think that's the issue is somebody might have a belief system and they say that it's the wrong thing to do to force your beliefs onto others. So keep it to yourself, keep it private because it's none of anyone else's business. Keep it to yourself. But should that belief system be forced on others? Because then that would be in violation of its own core value, which is that you shouldn't force your beliefs onto others because they just have made a system of communicated their system of belief, which is that you shouldn't force your beliefs onto others. And if they communicate that, well, then they're saying that this is the realm of belief that should be adopted over your realm of belief, which should be not adopted, which is, so that's interesting. It's like somebody pointing the finger and three fingers pointing back. We actually fall guilty to its own internal system. So it's like when someone says there are no absolute truths. Well, that statement itself would have to be an absolute truth statement. Otherwise, it's not true that there is an absolute truth or there is no absolute truths. I think you see where I'm going with that. So it's not a question of if we have an exclusive set of beliefs. It's probably more a question of which one, and it's actually okay to compare them. So, for example, go with low-hanging fruit. I would say that a belief system that says that racism or a particular people groups should be removed from the planet is actually incorrect, and not all belief systems are made equal. So if another belief system, let's just say Jesus, who believes that everyone is worthy of love, and that everyone is equal, I would say is superior to a racist, a Nazi, for example. I would say the follower of Jesus checks out there and wins that one. And someone says it's all relative, there's no way of knowing, and anyone who thinks that they know really doesn't. Well, just turn that around on themselves. The relativists would have to abide by that or not. And if they don't abide by that, well, then that's internally incoherent. So the relativist saying, basically every belief system is equivalent, all belief systems are equal, and there's no way of knowing which one it is within it's like a sphere of belief. Just imagine like a little globe, and inside that is their beliefs. They're saying that this is the right one because they're saying it as from a position of this is the absolute truth. Otherwise, they wouldn't say it. Does that make sense? So if I said all plants are green and all plants are edible, but I wasn't prepared to demonstrate that, and I certainly wasn't prepared to eat all plants, then that would be a really hard belief to hold on to. So to say all beliefs are equal, well, you'd have to demonstrate that. You'd have to show how they're all equivalent. And what you find a lot of the time is people will say, oh, all beliefs are the same. But what they actually do is they actually, if you had a whole recipe of a particular meal, they're only taking a few ingredients from that recipe and saying, see, this is a shepherd's pie. I've got the mince and I've got the potato. So I've got a shepherd's pie. That's no, you've got the mince and the potato. You're missing a whole bunch of other ingredients. Yeah, but it's the gist of it. But it's actually not doing justice to the shepherd's pie recipe. So for someone to say, all beliefs are they're all sort of trying to figure out the same thing and they all have the same answer. Well, those belief systems, if you look at them properly, they aren't in toleration of one another. For example, to go back to Nazism, it would say that it's not okay for a certain type of person to be on this planet, and so their system is not going to be coherent with another belief system that says that everyone's worthy of love. And so in order for the two to marry together, you would have to mongrelize you'd have to mongrelize both belief systems, turn them into something else, and then make it okay. It would be going back to the shepherd's pie analogy. Say, well, I've got the mince, I've got the potato, meat pies. Well, meat pies probably don't have potato in them. What else has mince and potato? Let's just say mince and potato on a plate. It's the same as a shepherd's pie. Well, it's not. It's just mince and potato. I think you understand where I'm coming from now. So when someone says, look, all belief systems are the same, what they're doing is they're not actually doing justice to the entirety of that belief system, which actually doesn't allow for that sort of syncretism with all the other beliefs. And so somebody who says that they're all the same and that they're all equivalent or they all head to God is equivalent to the person who's telling the story about the elephant and the 7 blind men who are stumbling around trying to find and describe what they see, what they don't see. And so it's actually elevating oneself to that position of ultimate authority and also all-knowing. So it's not actually a more humble approach. It's probably just as arrogant as the religiously exclusive person who says that their way of seeing the world and their way of seeing the universe and how it came to be and why we're here, and saying that in an explicit way that is exclusive. There's no one can take a moral high ground in that example, because one is saying that their belief system is the right one and all others are incorrect. The relativist who says that all belief systems are the right one and anyone who believes in religious exclusivity is incorrect has just made a value judgment on the religiously exclusive, but also they've said that their system of belief, which is exclusive, is the right one and it's the only way to see the universe and the world, and therefore it falls guilty of the crime that they're accusing the religiously exclusive person of committing. So rather than being concerned about, right and wrong in terms of how we should conduct ourselves and whether or not we should have these conversations, it's more of a question of, can we own what we truly believe and then actually dialogue? And it's okay to disagree. There's much worse things we can do to one another than offend each other. So can we go, hey, I want to hear your belief system. I don't think I'm going to be convinced by what you have to say, and I don't think I'm going to agree with you, and I don't believe what you believe. And that's okay, but I'm going to listen and I'm interested. So tell me what you believe, and rather than getting offended, disagree openly. Say, I don't agree for these reasons. I think the issue isn't that we have different beliefs. The issue is that we've lost the art of communication and we can't actually have these sorts of philosophical dialogues because we're too worried about offending each other, as if that's a superior belief system, that offending another person is the worst possible thing you can do to them. That is actually a belief system that they think is morally superior. Exclusively and as an absolute truth. All right, that'll do. Thank you for listening. I hope it's been thought-provoking. Let me know what you think. Happy to be shown where I've had major logical flaws, because I'm sure there are many. Anyway, have a good day.